Good morning and welcome to the Ostersund Arena here in the heart of Sweden. It is day number 3 of the World Para Ice Hockey Paralympic Winter Games qualification tournament, and things are really beginning to heat up. Sweden against Slovakia is the first game of the day. Two sides coming into this one winless. Sweden with a game in hand, however, against the Slovakians, who really must attain 3 points from this one. So a big clash today between these two European sides. Of course, Sweden on home territory. They were very close yesterday against a strong Japan side, just going down by the odd goal in 5. But Slovakia in their first 2 games have conceded 8 and have failed to put one in at the other end. So certainly a lot of problems that need to be addressed. Radoslav Bilečka, the Slovakia coach. They are the current standings. The top 3 places go to those who will be going to the Winter Paralympic Games next year in PyeongChang. Japan, Czech Republic and Germany currently in the driving seat. A win for either Sweden or Slovakia today, however, will really get Germany hot under the collar, as it seems at the moment that Japan are home and host. Czech Republic, of course, playing later today against Germany. But this match between Sweden and Slovakia could see one of these two nations drop out of contention. So Slovakia to the right of your screen, in the predominantly blue jerseys, coming out onto the ice. More pressure on them, you'd say, after they have played a game more than Sweden. And their goaltender, Edward Lepacek, wearing number 18, has faced 73 shots so far in the first 2 games. He's been a very busy man indeed. He's managed to keep out 60 of those efforts. Of course, conceding 8 along the way. As for Sweden and their goaltender, well, Ulf Nielsen with a miraculous performance yesterday against Japan to keep the score down to just 3-2. He made an unbelievable save in the first period, which managed to get him the Player of the Game award in the Swedish ranks at the end of it. Usually when a goaltender does come out on top in the Player of the Game standings, it looks bad on the forwards, but believe me, anyone forward for Sweden could have got a hat-trick and they still wouldn't have stopped Ulf Nielsen getting the credit he deserved at the end of that match. Morale then seemingly high in the Slovakia camp, if that team huddle is anything to go by. Sweden seem very chirpy indeed when the rosters were announced just before we came live on air. There were lots of stick tapping from the teammates and also support from the home crowd as well, who are keen to see their side get some points on the board in this massive week of World Para Ice Hockey. We will be finding out on Saturday evening who will be joining the United States, Canada, Norway, Italy and the Republic of Korea in PyeongChang in March 2018. Will one of these two sides be there? Will either of them be there? This game will go a long way telling us what the answer to that will be. The two captains just meeting with the officials on the near side. Captain for Sweden is Peter Ayala, and the Slovakian skipper as ever is Peter Stitt. So both sides just lining up at the moment on their respective blue lines. Lots of cries of support, particularly from the Swedes camped on the far side in this wonderful facility here in Ostersund, right next in fact to the Ostersund football team stadium. There's a good buzz around this town at the moment here in Sweden, and that will increase even further if the home nation can gain qualification to next year's Paralympic Winter Games. So Forstik lines up in the centre for puck drop here for Slovakia. He is up against Holm, and Holm is the one that comes out on top, and we are off and underway. A massive game here in this qualification tournament. Two sides with 0 points next to their names in the standings so far. However, Slovakia have played a game more and really need to get something out of this one. As ever, 3 periods of 15 minutes, and if the scores are level at the end of the 45, then we go to 5 minutes of overtime. Puck breaking loose early on here at Fort Slovakia, and Kardoš, who just couldn't quite squeeze through a passing. Vassen striding away with possession. It's a nice release for Kasperi as well. Holm charging in front of him, and Sweden have men forward here. Holm's just got the puck stuck under his sledge. Can he find it? He couldn't before Joppa was back for Slovakia to just eat it away. But Sweden certainly looking rampant whenever they break over halfway. I'm very keen to get forward with it. Ingvarsson, the latest to try and charge forward into Stitt. The referee has his arm up here, and it will be a penalty against Stitt the next time Slovakia have gained possession. And also off camera, Nielsen, the goaltender, is going off, and so Slovakia immediately are going to be put under the cosh here. They have conceded a penalty, and they'll be up against 6 attacking players, although I think that's quickly going to change because Nielsen has now returned back onto the ice. So a brief moment away for him. You can see the referee there with the orange armbands just signalling the teeing call, which is unique to the sport of para ice hockey, where the end of a sledge goes side on into an opponent. And Peter Stitt, the Slovakian captain, the first of the day to make way into the penalty box. So 2 minutes for Sweden to take advantage of with the man extra. It's a 5-on-4 situation. Linesman there just waiting for the penalty times to be put onto the screen as Kasperi picks up the loose puck and immediately slams one in towards the goal of Lepacek. And it's cleared long by Slovakia to give their defence a bit of respite. But a good start from Sweden. Ticking along very nicely at this moment in time. One thing though you have to say about Slovakia is their defeat so far in this tournament hasn't been for the want of trying, but they do lack that bit of cohesion that the other sides in this tournament boast. Sweden certainly having a lot of attacking cohesion so far in the early stages here. Kasperi testing Lepacek, who was sprawling around there after making the initial contact with the left glove. Well dealt with by his defenseman. And let's not forget as well, Slovakia are the lowest ranked team coming into this tournament. So perhaps not expected to finish in the top 3, but definitely would have fancied themselves as dark horses. It's not quite gone to plan so far from them. Their first 2 games they've conceded early, and that has been the issue. Another penalty called here for interference, and it's going to be 2 captains now going into the penalty box because the offender that time around was Peter Ayala. So both sides with 4 players in the outfield. There are 55 seconds remaining of Stitt's penalty, and therefore Slovakia will have a minute to make the most of with a man extra. So that's made things pretty interesting. As I was saying, Slovakia, with the 2 games so far, they've conceded very early on. They conceded after 50 seconds yesterday against Germany on day 1. And conceded in the first 90 seconds against the Czech Republic. They managed to survive the first 3 minutes of this game, and that should give them some much-needed confidence. Lundgren being pressured very well by Ligda there, and couldn't afford to make any mistake because he was the furthest outfield player back. Joppa trying to make inroads for Slovakia down the right, does so as well and pulls it back. An important interception from Rakos there, number 20 for Sweden, who scored against Japan yesterday. Loose puck picked up by Nielsen, Peter Nielsen, of course. And Stitt is straight back onto the ice, colliding into Nielsen there. So a minute for Slovakia with the man extra. Puck goes long and out for icing. Slovakia did not make the most of the 4 or 5 penalties that they managed to, power play should have said, that they managed to attain yesterday against Germany. They conceded from the first power play. They then conceded a penalty for themselves in the second. They do need to maximise that man extra, but at the moment the puck is really in the wrong place. It's in Sweden offensive third rather than a Slovakian one. So 4 minutes gone. Very competitive feel to this fixture, which is no surprise at all with what's at stake, but no real talking points as of yet. Just the penalty each. Ingvarsson tries to square it for Nielsen, it's loose, and Sweden have committed forward. Večerek is through, a real chance, 1-on-1 for Večerek, and it's saved by Nielsen. Good pressure also from Ingvarsson to close down the Slovakian number 45 as he bared down on goal. He got to the hash mark, he tried to pick out a corner, but in the end only stuck it straight towards Sweden's number 5 in goal, Ulf Nielsen. Biggest chance of the game so far. It's for Milos Večerek, the 22-year-old. Couldn't quite get his bearings right, and the shot there comes off the post and along the goal line. 2 good flashes of promise for Slovakia in quick succession. And they certainly have done their best to maximise this power play. Will there be a late sting in this, however, as Rakos collides in the centre with Ligda, and it's away from Večerek. Joppa trying to get to it, and then it's just a flailing stick there from Lundgren, who just tried to either put off Joppa or make contact with the puck. I'm not sure which one it was, but nevertheless, it's away, and Sweden actually now have a full complement. Back on is Ayala. Ingvarsson dumping it into the corner and trying to get the ricochet that will lead the puck to another yellow shirt. It's succeeded as well. Lundgren forward. Good pressure from Slovakia. They're making sure they are closing down the Swedes here without leaving too much space behind them. Ligda is trying to get his bearings right before setting himself and getting it forward. And Večerek again, the quickest to react in an attacking zone. Fires it off the backboard. Nielsen, it's loose. A rare mistake from him. Joppa couldn't capitalise. Good defending from Ayala. Slovakia slightly on top at the moment. Gergely managing to prevent Meng from making inroads, but the referee puts his whistle to his lips and there will be a penalty. Who's he pointing at now? This one for interference. And it will be Gergely because of that block off on Meng. So a second penalty for Slovakia. Two more minutes for Sweden with a man extra. The first power play for Sweden didn't yield anything too much. Didn't help either with Ayala going off or the second half of it. They can keep their discipline and be clinical. They could be fruitful. Kasperi. Segerstad's got a bit of room, but behind the net rather than in front of it, which is never ideal. Good battling from Slovakia in this near corner, but they have to be careful not to leave too much room on the far side. Kasperi trying to maximise the ice in front of him here. Shoots on the angle, it's low. Lepacek got a glove on it. Couldn't keep hold of it, but it works out fortuitously for Slovakia get away from Forstig. Nielsen commanding in the centre, but put under pressure, so Lundgren will help him out. Sperry just not really getting the puck to its intended target, but it still finds the yellow jersey. Good intensity from Slovakia, even a man down. They have to be careful not to leave too much room behind them. There will be a penalty coming up for Slovakia once again. And just as it was going so well for them, it seemed, negotiating this penalty very well, they are now going to be 2 outfield players down. It's loose to Joppa and cleared away. Nielsen is not at his goal at the moment. That is because, of course, while the penalty is in play, and the referee's got his arm up, the team that has committed the penalty cannot do anything with the puck when they get it back, and the referee will immediately blow his whistle. So Sweden just trying to maximise that scenario there with taking out the goaltender because he wasn't needed. He's back on now, however, because Sweden have a 5-on-3. Going off is Miroslav Stashak. So Stashak will have 2 minutes. There are 30 seconds remaining for Gergely, and Sweden have been gifted a wonderful opportunity here, but as soon as I say that, they then concede a penalty for themselves, and this game a bit rash at the moment. Very touchy affair. And now Ingvarsson is the latest culprit, shakes his head a wee bit as he just strides across to the near side, pleading his innocence, but it's a team call from the referee. And now Slovakia can propel themselves forward to the other end of the ice. Sweden still with a man extra, 4-on-3, but that will only be the case for 20 more seconds, because then Gergely will be back on the ice. Ligda going in here against Hull. Lundgren picking up loose pickings. And look at the ice in front of him. Ligda trying to prevent that from being too much of an open window. Sweden still coming forward. Nice approach from Nielsen, squares it across, and a real chance for Holm, who tried to guide it on target. I think there may have been a touch on that from Stitt that kept it from going towards Lepacek's goal. Both sides with 4 players now as Gergely re-enters the ice. Main quickest to react in the corner. Bides his time a wee bit, but he paid for that because Ligda wasn't giving him any room for manoeuvre at all. Slovakia still scrambling it to get it away, however. They don't seem to have benefited from having Gergely back on the ice at this moment in time. It's still backs against the wall stuff. Sweden still inside the offensive third. Lundgren ghosting away from a couple of blue shirts, and Nielsen's got some room. He shoots from distance, it took a deflection, and it goes into the net above the glass behind the goal, and therefore it will be a face-off to restart things. Nielsen there with not the ideal first contact on the puck, but he still managed to unleash a venomous effort towards Lepacek's goal. It may have taken it for his fellow Swede there on its way over. Restart in the Slovakia defensive zone, and this time it's Slovakia coming out on top. Večerek again trying to motor forward. He'll get there ahead of Nielsen, will he? Nielsen strong in the challenge on the near side, but Večerek gets the rub of the green. Joppa with an angle to shoot, and it was destined for that top far corner. And Nielsen again just plucking it out of the air with the left glove. And for a man so cool and relaxed, Ulf Nielsen has got some super reactions in him. So the score remains goalless. And for the second time in this game, that is thanks to Ulf Nielsen. Sweden have had more of the territorial play and have had more of the puck as well. But the chances are predominantly gone to Slovakia. Stasak is back on. So now it's 5-on-4 for 10 more seconds, because of course still in the penalty box for Sweden is Ingvarsson. So it's not going to be a very long power play, and it ends already. There's Ingvarsson coming back onto the ice, trying to get involved straight away, as is Stasak, who's now back on as well. Rakos welcoming back to the ice with a heavy collision there. Lundgren, who scored an absolute rocket yesterday, slams the puck against the face of Ayala there. Good job he's wearing a helmet. Again, scrappy in the centre, and an offside call against Ligda of Slovakia there, who's just ahead of Joppa as he tried to progress forwards. This save again, it was Joppa with the effort, and Nielsen not just getting the applause from the crowd here in the Ostersund arena. There are some spectators above and behind the goal as well, away to my left, who have got Czech Republic tracksuits on, and some Germans up there as well applauding that tremendous save. But as far as Ulf Nielsen's repertoire goes, that's just food and drink, that sort of stop. Ferenczi only finds Ingvarsson, who slams it in return onto the helmet of Ferenczi. Kasperi's got a bit of room to pull it across. There's a man in there, it's home, and it's well dealt with by Gergely initially, and then it cannons off a combination of Cederstam and Gergely before squirming through to Lepacek. Again, a big scramble for possession. Both sides not holding back at all. And with Lepacek there, who, as I mentioned, coming into this game had made 60 saves in the first 2 games, been called into action once more. And he's only a recent addition to the Slovakia side. He was a product of the 2015 youth camp, before featuring for the first time in Slovak colours at the 2016 B-Pool World Championships, and of course Slovakia got bronze in that. Lepacek with possession of the puck once again, and of course whoever the goaltender holds it, starts with a face-off in that defensive zone. It's Fajdik locking horns there with Ingvarsson. Kasperi winning it on the outside now. Just toying a bit with Fajdik behind him before scoring it for Nielsen. Real chance off the helmet of Lepacek, and he's just taken his helmet off there to feel his forehead there, Lepacek. That must have hurt. Of course, there is always a bit of a gap in the helmet to be able to see out of, and the force of that effort from Nielsen will have no doubt been felt well and truly by Lepacek. You can see the momentum of the puck taking Lepacek's head back with it there, almost. If the puck wasn't going to go in the net, Lepacek's head almost did. But a good opportunity for Sweden. Both sides certainly should have felt a goal could have been theirs. Ayala. Nice pass, Hedberg leads it. Nielsen again assesses his options. He can't squirm the puck through the wall of blue in front of him. And Slovakia, like a big plug inside their defensive zone at the moment, just suffocating any room for manoeuvre that Sweden feel they may attain. Ingvarsson back to get things rolling once again for Sweden. Look at the pace of Ingvarsson as he charges over halfway. Will he go alone? He goes on the outside, and it's so unfortunate there that his teammate Hedberg was just a bit too eager to break over the blue line before Ingvarsson did, and therefore an offside call it shall be. And Ingvarsson not showing it, but he must be a bit frustrated by that because he did tremendous work there to go from behind his own goal all the way into Slovakia territory. Ingvarsson named as best defenseman in the 2015 B-Pool World Championships. So much experience in the Sweden ranks. And there's a nice blend about Sweden with the youth and the experience. Večerek certainly in the former of those two categories in the Slovakian roster, coming against Ingvarsson here, but experience seems to be the trait that prevails. Although Forstik just picks his pocket, slams it back, it breaks for Ferencik, low effort wide of Nielsen's left-hand post. A little bit of an opening that for Slovakia, who will come again. Squirms through to Gergely, faced up by Cederström. And it's picked off behind the goal by Ingvarsson. But the pendulum starting to make its way towards the side of Slovakia. However, Sweden eventually get it away. And Ferencik tries to cannon it off the backboard, hoping it'll go to someone in blue. A nice lead for Nielsen, who certainly felt the full force there of that challenge from Forstik. And then the clearance away from Slovakia goes all the way out for icing. So a breathless first period here as we go into the final 2 minutes, but still nothing separating these two sides. And what is undoubtedly a must-win game, particularly for Slovakia, who have gone close on 2 occasions to opening the scoring. Večerek and also Joppa. Ulf Nielsen called into action on both occasions, but his opposite number in the Slovakian goal, Eduard Lepacek, has been busy also. Been a very captivating clash, this. And another game here at the Paralympic Winter Games Qualification tournament that has whet the appetite for the games next year, because only 3 of these 5 teams will get there. And the standard we've seen so far this week indicates that next March we are going to have a cracking tournament on our hands in PyeongChang. But of course, matters still to be dealt with here. Meng forced into the corner with Gergely, Forstik there as well with Rakos. Slovakia win both battles. Repelled nicely by Lundgren. Rakos can't get it under his spell. Forstik gliding nicely in from the right-hand side, but it was third time lucky for Sweden because Meng could get a blade onto it. Sweden quick across the ice to squeeze out any Slovakian threat. Nielsen has had a couple of sighters already. Can't really get his radar intact that time around. And Forstik plays it safely into the corner. At a nice pace as well, because of course when you slam it away into the opposing zone, you're not really killing too many seconds, but the delicacy of that one, managing to just kill 3 or 4 seconds. 16 of them left in total in this first period. If Sweden score here, it will be certainly a dagger in Slovakian hearts. It's a big crush for possession midway inside that face-off circle. Forstik seemingly outnumbered, but still managing to work the puck away. Did very well there, Forstik indeed, and that sort of attitude and determination summing up a strong Slovakian defensive performance in this first 15 minutes. And they could have gone ahead themselves. 2 good saves from Ulf Nielsen, firstly denying Milos Večerek when through one-on-one with the Swedish goaltender, kept it at 0-0. Martin Joppa almost found the top corner of Nielsen's goal, but the 53-year-old managed to match it very superbly indeed. A couple of saves as well for Edward Lepacek in the Slovakia goal. It poises this one nicely going into the second period of 15 minutes. We'll be back in around 10 minutes time for action of this one. Sweden 0, Slovakia 0.
Testing forward.
Večerek is through. A real chance, 1-on-1 for Večerek, and it's saved by Nielsen. Couldn't quite get his bearings right, and the shot there comes off the post. Remaining for Gergely and Sweden. Sweden still coming forward. Nice approach from Nielsen, squares it across. Away from a couple of blue shirts, and Nielsen's got some room. He shoots from distance. It's inside, but Večerek gets the rub of the green. Joppa with an angle to shoot, and it was. Kasperi's got a bit of room to pull it across. There's a man in there, it's home, and it's well dealt. Toying a bit with Forstik behind him before squaring it for Nielsen. Real chance off the helmet. Squeeze out any Slovakian threat. Nielsen has had a couple of strikes. Sweden certainly having a lot of attacking cohesion so far in the early stages here. Kasperi testing forward. Večerek is through. A real chance, 1-on-1 for Večerek, and it's saved by Nielsen. Couldn't quite get his bearings right, and the shot there comes off the post. Remaining for Gergely and Sweden. Sweden still coming forward. Nice approach from Nielsen, squares it across. Away from a couple of blue shirts, and Nielsen's got some room. He shoots from distance. It's inside, but Večerek gets the rub of the green. Joppa with an angle to shoot, and it was. Kasperi's got a bit of room to pull it across. There's a man in there, it's home, and it's well dealt. Toying a bit with Forstik behind him before squaring it for Nielsen. Real chance off the helmet. Squeeze out any Slovakian threat. Nielsen has had a couple. Hello and welcome back to the Ostersund Arena here in the heart of Sweden. What a contest we have. Sweden 0, Slovakia 0 after the first 15 minutes here. And going into the second period, it really could go either way. Sweden have had a lot of the territorial advantage and possession of the puck. However, they've not made the most of it. They've left space in behind them, and on a couple of occasions, Slovakia have gone very close indeed. Milos Večerek had managed to make a great save out of Ulf Nielsen, and also Joppa had a couple of efforts. One hit the post, one Nielsen save, and this is why this match is so important. You can see Sweden, Slovakia currently at the bottom of the standings. The top three progress to the 2018 Paralympic Winter Games. Both sides winless and pointless. That will change at the end of this match. Who can put the pressure on Germany and close the gap for third? Germany against the Czech Republic later will also be an interesting one. That's coming up at 3 o'clock local time, which is 2 o'clock British summertime. It's all about the here and now. And these two proud European nations, Sweden and Slovakia. One of them is just half an hour away from their first success of the week. Of course, you'll have also noticed on that league table that Sweden do have a game in hand over Slovakia. Sweden had a rest day on day number 1. Tomorrow, all 5 teams will have a day off. A much earned day off as well, I think, as the standard and the quality of para ice hockey that we've witnessed in the first 2 and a bit days so far has been absolutely superb. So the referee and his officials just making sure that everyone is present and correct, and we are good to go with this second period of 15 minutes. How far will this period go? After telling us not just the result of this game, but also whether one or two or neither of these sides will be making PyeongChang 2018. If the game does end in a draw, then we go to 5 minutes of overtime, and the team that manages to get the goal first in overtime will pick up the bonus point. Lundgren goes searching for Kasperi, who's just trying to propel himself forward with the stick end. And of course, in para ice hockey, you'll have noticed a couple of things immediately. They're sat down, and also they've got 2 sticks, 2 1-meter high sticks. At one end, the blade helps for stick handling and shooting, and the other end is used to propel forward. Ligda managing to just keep it in there on the goal line and pull it back, and this is a good chance for Forstic off the post once again. Another good chance for Slovakia. Bit of a scramble in the crease. I think Nielsen eventually has laid claim to the puck, but that's the second time that Slovakia have hit the woodwork. Forstic there, striking it. It beat Nielsen and cannoned off the pipe. Wonderful chance again for Slovakia to go in front in this one. They surely will have used the positive energy generated in that first period as an incentive to go out and produce more in the second. Face-off won by Sweden, who can put that passage of play behind them now, as Meng tries to get away from Gergely, beats him, but the next contestant is Ferencik. Meng sprawling around trying to keep the puck alive, and Gergely will get the last laugh and cannon it off the backboard. Rouse and Nielsen going head-to-head on the near side. Rouse squeezing the puck up to halfway. Lundgren going from distance, very ambitious indeed, and smashes the glass behind the goal. Of course, shooting from distance is very optimistic. The goaltender's unlikely to be beaten. However, it does pin you in opposition territory, and that was the aim there from Lundgren. If he could have caught the keeper out, that would have been a bonus. Puck still on the near side, and Slovakia managed to get it over the blue line. And Meng was offside, so retreated. Gergely forward, and the gap behind Meng could be maximised for Večerek. He's beaten for pace by Nielsen. Still they battle away, and the loose puck is picked up by Staszak, who is still going with Lundgren. Staszak now squeezing it back, and Rakos just gets a little blade on that to tap it away. A start to the second period that is just as feisty, ferocious as the first. Great frenetic pace about this one. Both teams will have their tails up. Slovakia perhaps more so after their bright moments in front of goal. But whoever does break the deadlock here will really demoralise the other. It'll be interesting to see how Slovakia do go about, because this is the first time in their third match that they have come into a second period all square. Can they build on that as a foundation block? Inboxer will try and change it. He's bearing down on the crease. He scrambles around. What's happened there? It's very difficult to see. Has the puck gone in the goal? Well, the only thing that has gone in the goal at the moment is Eduard Lepacek. You can see the strong collision there from number 30, Erik Foštík of Slovakia, and also in Varson as well. And the referee just explained what the decision will be, and it's demonstrated there by Anderson, the linesman, that it will be a face-off. Committed defending from Slovakia. In Varson was very threatening indeed. So in Varson, locked in the face-off circle here with Foštík. Those two meeting again. Slovakia again out on top. Kardoš away, and as far as home. Not much room to work with for either team at the moment. Both defences will be happy with their showing so far. Foštík, well, it cannoned off his teammate there, Stitt, his captain, but fortuitously went away from his own goal. The two number 11s, Ligda and Lundgren, not exactly making friends on the near side. I think Varson is ever keeping a cool lid on things. Sweden negotiate their way out of home territory very well indeed. Kasperi ahead of Ligda. Kasperi blocked away by Stitt. Loose in the centre. And Lundgren just dumps it into the corner. There are a couple of Swedish players retreating there who were offside. That is why no one in a yellow shirt actually got on the end of it. Also the fact there was quite a lot of zip on the puck as well, which couldn't have helped. Joppa tries to find the gap for Ligda. A race between him and Ingvarsson. Ligda, the dominant figure, and switching it for Joppa now. Very difficult for the forwards of both teams to keep the puck moving at a consistent pace, because the defence are not allowing the opponent any time to rest on the puck at all. And that has made it so engaging and competitive. As a neutral, we can't complain. I'm sure the forwards of both sides will be feeling a bit frustrated. Joppa coming in from the right. Bit of ice to work with as well, while Sweden make a couple of changes on the far side. Hedberg got a touch on it. Stitt keen to get on the end of it. Lost his balance there. Of course, the wear and tear of the ice as periods go on does deteriorate. And on these sledges, it's no different from skating with blades on the end of your feet. You are going to struggle for balance and smoothness across the ice as the period wears on. Lundgren gets goal side of Joppa. Joppa trying to be a bit of a nuisance. It was Stitt that prevented Lundgren from having a real sight on goal. And he was forced to try and come inside. Good interception coming from Staszak. Gets it away for icing. Well, we're coming up towards the halfway point of the second period, which of course is the halfway point of the game as a whole. And we are, as you were, at 0-0. It's anyone's guess as to who's going to get the breakthrough. It is the same sort of narrative, with Sweden having slightly more of the puck but not taking their chances. Meng almost did there, it hits the side netting. You could see the net bulge, but it went the wrong side of the net. It took a nasty deflection towards Lepacek's goal, but he had to be on guard and came up trumps as well. Wasn't a clear-cut opportunity for Meng, but he almost made something of it. Meng knocking it back this time, trying to be the provider for Nielsen. Nielsen got caught and intertwined with a couple of players in blue. One of them, Vecherek, crowded out on the near side by the retreating Swedes. Lundgren negotiating that one well, but couldn't find a teammate. Just stays in on the blue line. Fortuitous for Ferencik, who just plonks it forward, asking for a teammate to get on the end of it, and providing the answer is Staszak. Puck loose with Staszak again, squeezes one through, it cannons off Nielsen, who's come a long way out of his crease to get it. And he does very well indeed to get a paw on that one, because Vecherek was sniffing around and coming in like an eagle darting towards its prey. Nielsen, however, laid claim to it. Ulf Nilsson getting player of the game yesterday for Sweden, and the way it's going at the moment, you suspect it would be a defensive player to gain that accolade after the game here as well. Of course, there is still some way to go. Something has got to give. There's Ingvarsson. Creates the room nicely to find Nielsen, and his stick handling hasn't been great in this game, Peter Nielsen. A couple of times his first contact with the puck has been either too weak or too strong. Just needs to find that balance in the centre ground. Holm coming to contact with the board there more than he did Forstik. Linesman also getting involved inadvertently on the far side as well. It's difficult when the play is moving this quickly to get yourself out of the way of not only the players but the puck as well. Eventually it's spread from the far side to the near. There is no rest for the wicket at all when in possession of the puck. Immediately the opponent just bearing down at you. And it is about which players can keep cool and measured. Players like Ingvarsson and Lundgren, certainly the key men that do that for Sweden. Despite the pressure on them, they just use the stick to their advantage, make the puck do the work, and ensure that they're not forced into any errors. Nielsen himself still faultless in the Sweden goal. Putting his glove onto that one and stunning the puck in the process. And therefore it will be a face-off once more. Ferencik backtracking. Does very well indeed as Ferencik, the 38-year-old. Ingvarsson ultimately getting possession of the puck, and he did this sort of darting charge in the first period. Ayala was the one who tried to pick the baton up from him, couldn't keep hold of it. The Swedish attack still alive. Rakos does well to get in front of Stasak. Couldn't keep his balance, however, and he's only just getting himself up right now, is Rakos. Meng lays it back, and Varsson was calling for it. He was in space, but the pass just couldn't be utilised effectively. Varsson can still make something off of this. Beautifully gliding across the ice. Rakos trying to search for the underlap of Ingvarsson there, who was on a different wavelength. Rakos. Holm collides into the back of him, and he lost the puck in the process as well. We're back into another cagey stage of the game, where Sweden are trying to move it quickly, and Kasperi does a great job there, slightly let down at the last. He cannons into Gergely. Stasak just trying to get, at the moment, what seems to be a hot potato as far as Slovakia are concerned. As soon as they get it, they lose it once more. Lundgren from distance, parried away by Lepacek. It was a sensible decision as well to flick it behind him rather than parry it into a dangerous area in front. Panic station still for Slovakia, who eventually can march outside of their own territory. Lundgren. Lovely slip pass through, and a massive opportunity for Holm, who is one-on-one, and it's again saved by the helmet of Lepacek. Not for the first time in this contest. There will be a penalty against Slovakia as the referee has his arm up. Slovakia still having to do some defending meantime, though, as Nielsen hits one. Ingvarsson, Ulf Nilsson is out of the Sweden net at the moment because, of course, Slovakia can't do anything when they get their puck. They'll get it now and will indeed concede that penalty. And who is going off this time around, and for what? Wonderful save from Lepacek. It's Ferencik going off, the number 66 there coming in. That was the infringement, so he'll be out for 2 minutes, which is around half of the time remaining in the second period. Meng didn't know where the puck was, and Fostik picked his pocket. It's like dodgems at the moment around the ice, and if ever you wanted to know how much a Winter Paralympic Games means to the athletes involved in para ice hockey, then this game has been a very good representation of that. There is no love lost at all between these sets of players, who have great mutual respect off of the ice, but when on it, battle commences. And these players well aware of the severity of the stakes in front of them. Lundgren, who's had an excellent game once again, always just keeping calm and measured. He's surveying the scene at the moment. There is movement ahead. He's trying to pick out the right pass. Kasperi slams it into the corner and wants Holm to give chase. Loose package for Ayala, the captain, and he tries to thread it through for Kasperi, who would have been in one-on-one there, but it was a difficult pass to construct as both players were moving in different directions. Offside against Ayala. Good opening that for Sweden, however. A rare opening. Slovakia have been a big block at the back, repelling any Swedish danger coming their way. So the story of the second period so far, Slovakia with a good chance at one end right at the start, an effort off the post from Večerek. And Sweden themselves almost notching a goal onto their tally. But Lepacek's helmet for the second time this afternoon, thwarting them. Forstig just went through a couple of yellow shirts, and Joppa benefits from that. Ligda managed to stay on side, so Joppa can still motor forward. Forced out wide by Lundgren. Still managed to fire it across to Joppa. Varson trying to put an end to it, and he's been a bit forceful into the back of Ligda there. Varson just has to be quite careful. Maybe frustration setting in for Sweden, who would have hoped to have been ahead by now. Slovakia, a team so far this week notorious for shipping in goals and particularly going behind early. But with 90 seconds left of this period, it seems as if they're going to go into the final 15 minutes all square with no goals for either team. Incidentally, Slovakia are back to full strength, so Sweden unable to capitalise on their power play. Joppa, it's a teasing pass across the face of Ulf Nielsen's crease. Forstig holding it up, but can only find Cederstad. 60 seconds to go. Can either side muster a late spanner in the works for their opposition? Face off in the neutral zone after the puck just seemed to get tangled in between around 3 or 4 bodies there. Of course, with these sledges, they are manufactured in a way that the puck can still go underneath them, so the puck never actually gets trapped underneath the sledges. But of course, it can be difficult to locate where the puck is when it is under the bodies of these athletes. Kasperi trying to provide his magic there, slotted it through. Holm was offside, frustrating for Sweden. It's fine margins. Is Joppa onside? Well, he twisted his surge there to make sure he was on, but that then meant he was always going to struggle to catch it with a puck, which goes out for icing. Inside the last 30 seconds. And it looks as if the 30 minutes of hard work from both of these sides is going to boil down to the final 15. Sweden with the puck where they would like it, but not for long. Out for icing it goes. Nielsen with his arm up there in the Sweden goal, just telling his teammates to leave it. As Sweden can now go back to where they started, which is well inside Slovak territory. Not back for Kasperi, trying to just reverse pass one through the centre there and maybe try and encourage someone to get a touch on the end of it. Turn into a shot, however, which Lepacek easily dealt with. Well, I said at the start of this second period, it's so close to call who's going to win this game. And I'm afraid that the last 15 minutes have not made the situation any clearer. Hooter sounds. We've played half an hour. There is still no goals between Sweden and Slovakia here. An opportunity for either side in this period to break the deadlock. First it was Slovakia down one end, hitting the post after Nielsen was beaten all ends up. And then Sweden down the other, forced a remarkable save out of Eduard Lepacek. Also Marcus Holm went through one-on-one with the Slovakian goaltender, but he couldn't make it count. Either set of forwards have failed to be clinical when presented with opportunities, which have been few and far between. Credit to both defences. It's all going to go down to these final 15 minutes. We'll be back in a few moments' time with this finale. It's Sweden 0, Slovakia 0. Don't go anywhere. Keep it in there on the goal line and pull it back, and this is a good chance for Fosdick off the post once again. They build on that as a foundation block. Invoxon will try and change it. He's bearing down on the crease. He's scrambled. Slightly more of the puck, but not taking their chances. Meng almost did there. It hits the stack again. Squeezes one through. It cannons off Nielsen, who's come a long way out of his crease to get it. And he does get it. They lose it once more. Lundgren from distance, parried away. And a massive opportunity for Holm, who is one-on-one, and it's again saved by the helmet. Keep it in there on the goal line and pull it back, and this is a good chance for Fosdick off the post once again. And they build on that as a foundation block. Invoxon will try and change it. He's bearing down on the crease. He's scrambled. Slightly more of the puck, but not taking their chances. Meng almost did there. It hits the stack again. Squeezes one through. It cannons off Nielsen, who's come a long way out of his crease to get it. And he does get it. They lose it once more. Lundgren from distance, parried away. And a massive opportunity for Holm, who is one-on-one, and it's again saved by the helmet. Keep it in there on the goal line and pull it back, and this is a good chance for Fosdick off the post once again. And they build on that as a foundation block. Invoxon will try and change it. He's bearing down on the crease. He's scrambled. Slightly more of the puck, but not taking their chances. Meng almost did there. It hits the stack again. Squeezes one through. It cannons off Nielsen, who's come a long way out of his crease to get it. And he does get it. They lose it once more. Lundgren from distance, parried away. And a massive opportunity for Holm, who is one-on-one, and it's again saved by... Welcome back for the final time in this contest for Sweden against Slovakia here at the Ostersund Arena in Sweden. The host nation frustrated by a strong Slovakian defence here. Slovakia, unfortunate themselves not to be in front. They've struck the woodwork twice. Ulf Nielsen has been called to produce the sort of heroics we saw from him yesterday against Japan as well. But both teams currently winless, and in a must-win game, the first 30 minutes of hard work all boil down to this final set of 15 minutes here. If the game ends as a draw, we do go to overtime to see which side will get a bonus point. But at the moment, in the league standings, the top three of Japan, the Czech Republic and Germany all have at least one win next to their name. These two really need to use this final 15 minutes to their favour and climb up towards those qualifying spots for the World Para Ice Hockey Paralympic Winter Games next year in PyeongChang. 5 teams are already there. The reigning world champions Canada, the runners-up the United States, Norway, Italy, and the host nation Republic of Korea as well. And we'll be finding out this week which 3 teams will be joining them. But these two need something out of this in order to be in contention. So we're just seconds away then from the referee dropping the puck and is getting this final stage of an epic encounter underway. It may be goalless, but it has been competitive, ferocious and compelling, to say the least. Varson, nice switch under his sledge to get it towards the near side. Men couldn't quite get on the end of it. His opposite number, Stitt, could. Now Forstig trying to make inroads. He just plants it in towards the far corner. Good stuff from Slovenia, who in their first 2 games so far in this tournament have got better as time has gone on. And in their first 2 games they'd conceded at least 2 in the first 10 minutes. Managed to keep a clean sheet so far. Can they use that as an incentive? Well, they almost conceded there once again. Lepacek keeping out the effort, this time of Kasperi. He sort of holds out his arms and says, what more could I do in that position? Decent angle for an effort, but Lepacek in the form he is in so far today. Well, it's able to prevent Sweden breaking the deadlock. Ingvarsson, nice pirouette, but it breaks loose, and Bedřich is through like he was in the first period. It's not gone too kindly for him. He'll just about keep her alive here. Nielsen has come across, and Slovakia try and push men forward, but Slovakia are able, or unable should I say, to make that one count. A really good opportunity again for Bedřich, but there was just too much pace on the puck. And he could never really accelerate himself forwards quickly enough to get onto the end of it. Good end-to-end feel about this game after quite a cagey second period, which is not surprising with what is at stake. A must-win also coincides with a game that you must not lose. And maybe 1 point will benefit these two sides in the long run, but 3 points has to be the main priority. And Slovakia again with a 2-on-1 situation. Joppa, Nielsen the only man back. Joppa will go alone, and it's Peter Nielsen's namesake Ulf, who once again keeps things calm at the back. Just gets his left paw on it and clutches it gratefully to deny Slovakia again. Entertaining first 2 minutes of the final period. But who will draw first blood? And I'm getting a feeling that the game is just been expanded a wee bit. It's more and more open. And surely someone soon will get an opportunity and make no mistake with it. Kasperi has won the power play there. The foul coming from Staszak, who's been urged off now by the linesman. I think he knew himself that he was going to have to make way there. And it's pulling, which is the reason why he will be departing the ice for the next 2 minutes. So after an encouraging start to this concluding period, Slovakia will have to negotiate the next couple of minutes a man short. And a fair share of penalties in this match, particularly in the first period. Things just seemed to deflate a wee bit in the second. There was still an awful lot of entertainment, but neither side was wanting to give the other any bit of room to work with. It's definitely been a bit of a bloodbath, this one. Kasperi, again, just forced into a tight corner, so just darted it away towards the backboard and hoped that someone in yellow would get on the end of it. Again, Slovakia trying to break forward. That one will undoubtedly go behind the goal line, and Joppa will not get to it first. Of course, not icing as Slovakia down a player, given the benefit of the doubt in those scenarios. Ingvarsson, lovely take again from him. Now it's Lundgren, straight into the path of Joppa, who is tenaciously scurrying around at the moment, trying to get his stick onto the end of things. Joppa this time does come out on top and squares it nicely, but Forstik couldn't bring under his spell. Bumped into by Kasperi also, but still going across, and Joppa couldn't make contact. Nielsen with a vital touch as Forstik flashed it across the crease. It was probably at a height that wouldn't have been too kind anyway for Joppa, who was in a very dangerous area of the Swedish defensive zone. He couldn't make contact with the puck. Penalty for teeing here against Ingvarsson, and he could be a big loss for Sweden. Putting the end of his sledge into the side of the opponent, so both sides with 4 players in the outfield, and there are just 30 seconds remaining of the Slovakia penalty, so very soon it will be them with the man advantage. This game wonderfully in the balance. It has been teetering at times, a bit like a seesaw, in favour of one team then the other, but neither has managed to make sustained pressure count. Veterek has lost a stick, and he'll leave it for Gergely to pick up the loose puck so that he can regain a full complement of sticks in his hands. And Slovakia now back to full strength as Staszak wastes no time at all to get into the thick of the action on the near side. Ligda, Staszak, he's just offside there, and I was just about to say that Slovakia are enjoying quite a good spell of territorial advantage and possession of the puck, but that momentum will be disrupted now by that offside call, and so a face-off will resume things in the neutral zone. Don't forget, we do have a game coming up 3 o'clock local time, which is around 90 minutes from now. Germany against the Czech Republic. Both teams with 1 win apiece. Czech Republic enjoying a day off yesterday. All teams do enjoy an allocated day off each, and then tomorrow they all have 24 hours rest. So no action for you tomorrow. But your para ice hockey fix will be fulfilled on Friday, don't worry about that. And I'm sure this game, along with the preceding 4 we've had already this week, will have whetted your appetite. Joppa, lovely play, finds Veterek in a bit of space, has to spin before he can face the goal. Joppa's now got room again, Bit of an angle, squares it across, real chance, Ligda, second time around has scored, and Slovakia finally made the breakthrough with just 10 minutes to go in this contest, and persistence certainly paid off that time around. Lovely approach play from Radoslav Bielka's men. Joppa fired it across, and Ligda at the first attempt tried to squeeze it through the oncoming Peter Nielsen. It was blocked by him first time around, but no mistake with the second bite of the cherry. And Marianne Ligda has made it advantage Slovakia in this mammoth clash here in Ostersund. It's the host nation 0, Slovakia 1. Well, Slovakia have been putting their nose in front in the last couple of moments. They have enjoyed a lot more possession than they've had in the last couple of periods, where they have previously tried to sting Sweden on the counter-charge. Sweden now back to full strength, and finally Slovakia make a power play count. They struggled to do so with the man advantage yesterday against Germany, in a tough loss to take for them, 3-0 against the Germans. But it seems to be a different story completely on this occasion. Peter Nielsen backtracking. And you wonder how long it is before Ulf Nielsen is sacrificed in the Sweden goal. And Sweden decides to go hammer and tongue at this match and stick out a sixth outfield player. Ayala, the captain. Ingvarsson back onto the ice after the penalty just before the goal. Ingvarsson still ghosting forward, trying to get past the goal scorer, and he has done as well. Ingvarsson going all the way, real chance, and again Lepacek keeping it out. And I think that may have been a third time with the helmet as well. There's been a penalty called against Slovakia. The advantage was played for Sweden as they came through with possession of the puck. But Ligda, who was in ecstasy a couple of moments ago with the goal, will now have to sit out for the next 2 minutes after the holding call. And you can see behind the goal there's a bit of a dispute going on between the Slovakian players and the referee. But eventually Ligda will slowly skate off towards the near side and just be a spectator like the rest of us for the next 2 minutes. So holding the call, and Sweden with a wonderful opportunity to squeeze themselves right back into this one. Face-off won by Ingvarsson. Kasperi hasn't really had the room to work with in this game to produce any magic. Holm has some room now, however, he's forced out wide. He'll just bide his time by arcing around the goal. Room for Lundgren, he scored from this sort of range yesterday, trying to do the ambidextrous stick control from the left blade onto the right. Kasperi rolling one around the perimeter of the backboard. Home on the end of it. Meng's in the centre, just lurking and awaiting the pass, but he's got two blue shirts around him. Ingvarsson's also occupied by Joppa and maybe forced back here to Lundgren. Indeed he is. He'll fire one into the mixer. It's hit the post. Very close from Sweden. And now Meng is the one trying to challenge that Lepacek in the crease. But Lepacek again is the one that reigns supreme. And what a game he has had in the Slovakian goal. Lundgren with the initial effort. You can just see here how it seems to ghost past the three players there in Lepacek's crease, including Lepacek, who didn't really get much of a sniff of it. And then it cannons low off the post. Lepacek completely unaware of the puck's location. But gratefully for him and Slovakia, it stays out. Večerek trying to motor forward. Kasperi will put an end to that charge and now turn defence into attack. Kasperi still going. Joppa biting back and does well to deter the puck away, and then at the second attempt by Ferencik, he just repels it all the way towards the other end of the ice. Slovakia doing well on the power play. 30 seconds left for Sweden, who have the man advantage. Meng tried to ghost round the side of Večerek. It works as well. Fojtik trying to get his body in the way. Meng still with possession of the puck in a tight area. Ingvarsson there to help. 2-on-2 on the near side. Holm trying to make it 3 in favour of Sweden. But it isn't fruitful for the home nation, who once again are forced back towards their own goal. Slovakia now have Ligda back on the ice, and they did very well on that penalty kill there to completely stun Sweden and stop them from making the most of it. Kasperi is the man in the corner with Joppa charging into his side, and a heavy collision between Ingvarsson there and Ligda, who is not afraid, despite conceding the penalty a few minutes ago, of getting straight back into the thick of the action. Icing. The clearance from Slovakia goes out for icing. 6 minutes remaining. Still we wait for Ulf Nielsen in the Sweden goal to be sacrificed. The Sweden coach Erik Wikström just biding his time for now. Hopeful still that Sweden can get themselves back on terms without risking things defensively. Rakos fighting hammer and tongue to try and win that face-off. I think members of both teams there all getting involved. And Fojtik finally can pick it up. Not in a nice position though. Forced into his own backboard there by Ayala. Joppa there to help out. He releases Večerek. Nice play this from Slovakia as Večerek receives the give and go with Ligda. Nielsen marshals the Sweden defensive zone very well indeed, and will now find Lundgren, who will in fact leave it for Rakos. No one really forward at the moment for Sweden. Ayala trying to close down Ligda, but that seemed too simple for me for Slovakia to defend. Of course, no Sweden player can be inside the offensive zone while they've got it in their own half, but at least create an option towards the red line. Hedberg, he's got Ayala in front of him. Rakos now has possession. He does find, well, he almost found Ayala. The idea was there, but Ayala wasn't receptive enough to it, and his stick wasn't long enough to get on the end of. Slovakia defending very well indeed at the moment. Very sensible management of the game. Position they're not familiar with, Slovakia, after their 2 defeats. They've not scored before today either in either of those games, so Marian Ligda, the first goal scorer of this tournament for Slovakia, and what a vital goal it could be. One thing that is on Sweden's side is that they do have a game in hand over Slovakia, and also the Slovak goal difference is still far worse than anybody else, but that goal doesn't just give them a really good opportunity of gaining 3 points, it's also a token of positivity and morale going into the final couple of games. Slovakia are back in action on Friday against Japan. That'll be almightily tough, and their final game is indeed that one against the Japanese, and then they just have to wait on Saturday to see everybody else play and find out whether or not they indeed will be boarding that plane in March next year for PyeongChang and the Paralympic Winter Games. Swedish bench looking on very concerned indeed at the moment. They have got their lucky reindeer as ever, but it's not proving too fortunate for them at the moment. Nielsen plays that one. We can see the reindeer there on the Swedish bench. The Swedish team founded a couple of years ago, just lying on the side of a road, and they decided to pick it up wash it for themselves and keep it as a token of Swedish goodwill, making sure they leave nobody behind. Slovakia certainly trying to leave Sweden behind, though, in the standings at the moment. And that Ligda goal has gone some way to doing that. Gergely will challenge with Holm, and that was a nasty collision between the two sledges there. These players just get on with it, but I'm sure if there's mere mortals going out there onto the ice and playing this sport, you can certainly feel the impact of these collisions. Wojcik picks it up loose. He could have found Staszak, who was in front of him. He went for goal himself. Staszak has Lundgren for company, and indeed is forced into an error by Lundgren. So Sweden have possession and need to get forward. There are only 3 minutes to go. Kasperi, Lundgren up alongside him, as is Meng in the centre, but it's loose, and Joppa can gleefully pick up possession once more. Ingvarsson turning the puck over. Puts it into the corner and asks Kasperi to chase. Sweden not really committing the number of men forward that I thought they would be at this point. Nielsen is also still in the Sweden goal. He keeps looking across to the Sweden bench, just awaiting the call to come off, and for Sweden to go all-out attack with the 6 outfield players. Ingvarsson. Lost again by Sweden as they try and progress into Slovak territory. And of course Sweden yesterday with a very unfortunate defeat to Japan. They lost by 3-2. It could easily have been a draw. After that positive performance, well, actually after this one, we looking quite ominously at the standings. I'm realising they have to win on Friday against the Czech Republic, and that is far easier said than done, because the Czech Republic looked very good indeed against Slovakia in their first game. Don't forget, the Czech Republic are up next as well. They take on Germany at 3 o'clock local time, which is around an hour and 20 minutes from now. But it is the here and now that really matters. Sweden have called for a timeout. In fact, it may have been, yes, a Slovak timeout, in fact. They're just trying to kill the momentum of this contest. Here we see some of the good Sweden opportunities in this period. Holm there, if he went for it first time, he may have been able to catch out Lepacek, who has had a super game in the Slovakian goal. But Slovakia just under 2 minutes away from their maiden 3 points of this tournament. You can see the man with the clipboard there is Alan Kasperi. That is Timo Lathington, who is giving out the instructions. And well, let's see what happens. Well, those words of encouragement and wisdom provide any measure of success for Sweden. So close to the end of the game. The goal now would break Slovakia hearts, but ignite Sweden's challenge. Oh, and there it is. At the vital moment, it is put home by Ingvarsson, I think, into the top corner of Lepacek's net. It was always going to take something special to beat the Slovak stopper. And Ingvarsson, there you can see, just reversing it off the left stick onto the right, and the delight there for all to see. The home nation are back on terms. And Sweden now go into the final 90 seconds of the game, looking to use that goal as a fuel for momentum to maybe go on and pinch a winner. You have to feel for Slovakia, who have defended so well in this game so far. But Nicklas Ingvarsson who has been there and done that for Sweden throughout the years. They may have just given Sweden hope of qualifying for yet another Winter Paralympic Games. Sweden have never missed out in qualification, but Slovakia, meanwhile, at the other side of the coin, are aiming to qualify for their first. And they'll have been dealt a major blow by that goal. They have to make sure that the wind is not completely out of their sails, however. Forstig slamming one into a dangerous area. All hands to the pump for Sweden right now. Vecharek is getting tasty out there at the moment. No surprise either. Joppa, Lundgren in his back. In fact, both of them leaving the puck behind there, behind the goal, as we go into the final minute. Slovakia have not allowed Sweden to push for a winner yet. Looks as if this one's going to overtime. We thought at the start of this period it may go to overtime at 0-0. And we thought that surely if there was going to be a goal, that it would be the goal to win the contest. That has not been the case. You never know what's around the corner in this sport. We're at one apiece. And after that, corker from Ingvarsson, who has ignited life into the Swedish ranks. The seconds ticking down. It looks as if this one is going to surpass regulation and move all the way into overtime. And if you enjoyed the previous 45 minutes, folks, then strap your seatbelts for another 5. Sweden 1, Slovakia 1. Slovakia thought that they had managed to take the lead in this one and gain the 3 points after Marianne Ligda fired in at the second attempt. And then Sweden equalised right at the death. Niklas Ingvarsson firing it in after Slovakia failed to deal with the face-off inside their own zone. And Ingvarsson let fly a carbon copy of Rasmus Lundgren's goal yesterday for Sweden. It has to be said, against Japan. There was nothing Eduard Lepacek could do about that one, despite his heroics throughout this game. And here we see some of the action from this match. It was Joppa's pass across that Ligda, first time around, couldn't stick home, but no mistake on the second occasion. Nielsen just caught in no man's land in his crease, was never going to get close to that. But then Sweden restored parity. Ingvarsson keeping that cool head we talked about earlier in such a frenetic scenario, by just shifting the puck from the left stick onto the right, straight into the top bin. Lepacek couldn't get a sniff of it. And now we are moments away, 90 seconds in fact, from 5 minutes of overtime. And the rules of overtime: next goal winner, simple as that. We thought that was the case in the third period, but it will definitely be the case now. If there is no goals in the next 5 minutes, then we go to the dreaded shootout. Also as well, with the overtime, both teams lose a player, so it will be 4-on-4 in the outfield, which will be good for the forwards, who have had a tough time of it in this game so far. They've certainly had to work for room and for the space to show their magic. Both defences have been predominantly on top, despite a lapse at both ends in the third. There's a small bank of Swedes on the far side who are just applauding the Swedish team as they gear up for this extra time. Hopefully for Slovakia, they won't be too disheartened after that stunning finish from Ingvarsson. In the previous couple of games, they have lacked cohesion and chemistry with the puck. This time around, they have been completely solid and fluid as well going forward. A real improvement from Radoslav Bilecka's men, And let's not forget that Slovakia are the lowest ranked team coming into this tournament. You can see the Swedes there on the far side. Seeing themselves on the big screen as well here in the Ostersund arena. As we now embark on the 5-minute overtime. It's 4-on-4. It's Sweden v Slovakia, 1 apiece. Who is going to get the sudden death golden goal? Well, off we go. Of course, both teams have registered a point after those 45 minutes. So it will not go to waste for either team. But it really will be a killer blow for the team that loses out by seeing their opponent edge further by a single point. Both teams now playing for that bonus point, and it could make all the difference when we get to the final standings. Kasperi, if anyone's going to win the game for Sweden, he's the man. Slightly faltered in his tracks there by the challenge of Ligda, the goal scorer for Slovakia. And then the forward pass goes out for icing. So we go back up to the other end of the ice. You see a few nails being bitten in both benches on the far side. It's no surprise. Nerves are high. The stakes are just as high. At the moment, the game developing into the tight affair we saw in the second period, where there is no window of opportunity for either offensive outfit. And that's despite the fact that both teams have a player less, of course, going into the overtime period. Oh, unfortunate from Joppa there, who took the sting out of the puck, which was wonderfully weighted in the end then for Holm. He tried to release Kasperi rather than going by himself, and Kasperi was halted in his tracks. Ulf Nielsen will keep the puck active and finding Varsson. Slovakia just making a few changes while Sweden have it deep. One of them, Večerek, wins possession in the centre circle. Looks like very much a defensive job this from Slovakia so far, allowing Sweden to come at them. Paradox always is in overtime that you want to go and get the golden goal for yourself, but you don't want to leave yourself open at the back. There will be a penalty for Sweden, and Lundgren, I think, was the guilty party, teeing once again the infringement. We've seen a few of them calls in this game already. And at a critical stage of the game, Rasmus Lundgren will be off of the ice for the next 2 minutes. Sweden using the opportunity on the far side just to talk tactics. Of course, only 3 players remaining. In the outfield for them right now against Slovakia's 4. How costly could that be? Watch it. Got to find the gap, and it's a real opportunity for Večerek, who has got it. Slovakia will get the bonus point, and it is stuck home by Milos Večerek. Slovakia will get their first win of this tournament, and it's the man who went so close on 2 occasions in regulation, who finally, third time lucky, makes it count in overtime. Nielsen did his best to thwart the first effort from Večerek, but there was nothing he could do about the second. And here at the Ostersund Arena, it is Slovakia that come out on top. Just, it's finished. Sweden 1, Slovakia 2. Sweden will get 1 point out of this. Slovakia will also get a point, plus the bonus one there after Večerek's goal. And the 22-year-old is the man that lifts Slovakia off bottom.
and it was, the goal was...
I was quite surprised by the muted celebration on the Slovakian bench there. It almost made me question for a minute whether or not the goal stood. It certainly did. It must have been the shock of the goal coming so early as well. That caused that quite low-key celebration on the Slovakian bench. And of course, the story of Slovakia in the last couple of games is not being able to maximise power plays. Well, they've managed to do it on 2 occasions today. Firstly when Ligda got the goal, and then when Večerek scored in overtime. And we'll now hear the Slovakian national anthem.
Best player in each team is handed over by...
It looks as if they're not going to bother with that. They're struggling at the moment to find the right track, it seems, down in the technical area. So we'll go with player of the game in the meantime, which means that the Slovakian players will have to turn around and face their player of the game, who is Milos Večerek, and quite fitting that he is the man who takes the plaudits with that goal in overtime. It would have been harsh for him not to have took the accolade otherwise, although Eduard Lepacek, the Slovakian goaltender, certainly put in a performance that would have merited that award also. And for the Swedish players, it will be scant consolation, whoever gets player of the game. Ingvarsson will get it after one of the goals of the tournament so far. A rasping drive right at the end of the third period that brought the game to overtime. The silver lining of that goal is that, in retrospect, at least it gained Sweden a point. They couldn't capitalise on the momentum, however, and fire themselves to 3 in normal time, or at least just a bonus point in overtime. But nevertheless, Sweden are off the mark with a solitary point, but Slovakia will be above them on 2. And we'll see the standings, I'm sure, at the end of this live stream, and we will be able to witness how tight it now is in this tournament. Slovakia reigns supreme. First time we have heard the Slovakian national anthem this week, and the first chance as well that the Slovakian players have had to observe and respect their nation's anthem after what was an incredible contest. Sweden and Slovakia both playing their fair share in that one, and what was an absolute cracker. But Slovakia, in the end, thanks to the overtime goal from Milos Večerek, sees them the ones that at their first win of the campaign. They get 2 points due to the win being in overtime. Sweden will now be on 1 point. Don't forget, if you enjoyed that game, there is more to come for you today. Germany v Czech Republic is the game at 3 o'clock local time, which is 2 o'clock British summer time. And until then, I've been Jonathan Bell. I wish you a very good afternoon indeed, and we'll see you again in an hour's time. Has to spin before he can face the goal. Joppa's now got room again. Bit of an angle, squares it across. Real chance, Ligda second time around has scored again. Bit of an angle, squares it across. Real chance, Ligda second time around. The goal now would break Slovakia hearts that ignite. Sweden's challenge! Oh. Slovakia hearts that ignite. Sweden's challenge! Watched it. Got to find the gap, and it's a real opportunity for Vettel. Watched it. Got to find the gap, and it's a real opportunity.